Thank you.
All right, so now that we're recording, we're on to our next appointment. This is for Senator Brianna Huynh to the position of ASB Senate Director of Finance. Brianna, I believe, has expressed interest in this position since she ran for election, and I'm more than happy to accommodate that appointment. Brett, I believe members of the executive board are also voted on by the board, is that correct?
Because they're already a senator, they've already been voted in. So I believe if there's no objections, you don't need to do a roll call vote. It's my understanding is if they're new and had not been voted in, that's when you have to do a roll call vote.
Thank you. So as a matter of consent, if there are no objections, I will appoint Senator Huynh to ASB Senate Director of Finance. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing none, appointment granted. All right. Our next appointment is Senator Sydni Fagan to the position of ASB Senate Director of Public Relations. So as a matter of consent, if there are no objections at this time, the appointment will be made. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing none, the appointment is granted. And finally, for our executive board, the final appointment before we move on to committee appointments will be Senator Silvia Garcia to the position of ASB Senate Director of Legislative Affairs. As a matter of consent, are there any objections to this appointment? All right, hearing and seeing none, the appointment is granted. All right, so on to committee appointments. I think there are just 3 we'll be making today because, as I previously mentioned, either the schedule is not out to be available for final commitment, or we're just also having quite a few appointments today. So the first appointment will be CAEB President Mark Shepard to the position of Los Rios District Student Advisory Committee. President Shepard is our most experienced board member, chairs clubs and events board, has served on a variety of committees, works in collaboration with both SAGES and student design team, and has already met with Trustee Gallinado about this appointment and started familiarizing with the duties of this role. This appointment is for the fall 2021 semester. At the trustee's request, I will be resuming this role in the spring. So congratulations, Mark.
Thank you.
And then I wanted to ask if there is anyone present who would be interested in serving on the Affordable Learning Materials Committee. This committee meets twice each month on Thursdays from 3 p.m. to 4:30. I'm bringing this up at this time because their next meeting is actually their first meeting on September 2nd, next Thursday. And so who might be a good fit for this role would be, for example, STEM students. STEM can be prohibitively expensive as a major. And in general, STEM students may be interested in exploring open source projects in general, and oftentimes affordable learning materials involve open source projects. Board members interested in equitable access to higher ed could also be a good fit. Board members pursuing careers in fields such as library science, education, or research may also be a good fit. Or if it just sounds interesting to you, that could also be appropriate. So would anybody be interested in being appointed to the Affordable Learning Materials Committee at this time? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. And if you have any questions, please bring those as well.
Chair?
I'm interested.
I heard Molly first. Go ahead, and then Colton will go with you.
Would volunteering for this position prohibit you from other positions?
Absolutely not. Although do consider your scheduling and be careful not to overschedule yourself. But that's a very good question. You can absolutely serve on more than one committee.
I would be happy to help if necessary.
Thank you, Molly. Colton, did you have a question as well?
Yes, I'm interested in it, but I would like to know more about it if you don't mind. Could I be sent some written documentation on it if you don't mind?
Brett, do you have anything on this? That's a very good question, Colton. I personally don't have anything other than a brief email requesting the appointment and outlining the schedule. But Brett, you may have more information. I understand it's collaboration with the library.
Yeah, it's through the library. They like chair the committee. Your constitution does have a textbook committee, but I think it's over time just kind of merged with that one. because the librarians are such a great resource for that. I can get something, the librarian's name. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen them in so long. I see their face and cannot remember their name. Kate Williamson is their name. I can get some documentation for the board and for Colton particularly.
So Colton, would you like to hold off on that appointment in lieu of more information?
I would like to learn more information, and I'm curious if I'm able to attend a meeting with them just to see kind of what the flow of it's going to be, you know, before signing up for something like that. But I am very much interested in the position, yes.
Brett, I believe that committee will be open to the public. Is that correct?
Should be.
Okay. All right, Molly, I see your hand. Go ahead.
My parents have been advocating for access to higher education for the past 15 years. And at times I've been recruited to help them. I don't know much about the committee, but I love the title of it. Affordable Learning Committee is something that I have been involved in practically all my life because my parents have served with the UCs as well as me mentor. So I am definitely interested to be on this committee.
Absolutely. Appointment granted. And thank you for your service, Molly. All right. Are there any other senators or members of the board who have questions about this committee or are requesting an appointment at this time?
How many positions are available for this committee, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't have that information. Brett, do you happen to know?
I don't. The last 2 years, I think it was really Jacob that kind of spearheaded that, but knowing Kate, I imagine as many students that want to join, they will be happy to accommodate.
All right. So if I'm understanding it correctly, the more the merrier kind of a situation.
Sounds like it, yeah. All right, are there any other questions or requests for appointment at this time to the Affordable Learning Materials Committee? All right, sorry if it seems awkward, just trying to give you guys a long, healthy wait time. Make sure you have your opportunity. All right, so hearing and seeing none, we're gonna move on to our final committee appointment, and this would be the Senate representative to Club and Events Board, which as many of you probably know, is the board chaired by President Mark Shepard. And so CAEB meets every Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. And Mark or Brett, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is a voting member position, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. So the appointment from the Senate to CAEB is sort of a liaison position where you relay information and just kind of communicate between the boards and then also have voting rights on that CAEB board. And so representing Senate's interests and just kind of keeping government involved with each other. Again, CAEB meets every Tuesday at 10:30. This is a voting member and who may be a good fit. Maybe board members involved in clubs or events planning, as well as board members interested in marketing, public relations, or recreation. Is anyone interested in filling this position? And I understand this is a single position, not necessarily a committee appointment that's open to many. I'm sorry if I didn't clarify that before. All right, seeing and hearing that, it looks like we might have to defer that appointment to a future meeting. If you have any questions about Club and Events Board, I encourage you to reach out to Mark rather. Want to give you one last chance. Again, if you are interested in clubs, events planning, marketing, public relations, or recreations, this could be a good office for you to hold.
I think I would be more interested in if I had a little bit more information about it, if you don't mind.
Mark, would you like to speak about this and answer Colton's question? Thank you for that question, Colton.
Sure. Is there any in particular question you have, Colton, that you would like me to answer?
Well, I suppose, what would it really entail from your experience? How has it been? what has been done in the position. And I suppose I'm interested in kind of like an outline of what you would be expected to do, what you would
Okay.
do.
So this position is solely, as Stacey stated, is just communicating between what Senate, wants to present, let us know, let CAEB know what is going on the Student Senate side. As they also mentioned that it is a voting position. If we needed to take a vote on something, that you would have a voting, say yes or no. It's just basically because every board has to have a rep. That's why myself, I'm appointed onto Student Senate as the CAEB rep for Student Senate and vice versa. So there's nothing in particular that would require or any like duties, except for just to kind of let CAEB know what Senate's doing. Basically just an informational seat. It's not like any other roles will be assigned to you or anything like that. It's like I said, basically just you sit in, on CAEB as well as Student Senate, just to kind of inform CAEB what Student Senate is doing, what they're working on, to let the clubs know, what's happening on Student Senate side. So there's no real like job, that you're required to do, except for that. So it won't be like adding, multiple duties or anything else, except for just basically informing clubs and events board of what Student Senate is doing when we go to do the board member reports. So that's basically what that role is. So any other questions?
So if I'm understanding it correctly, the role entails more or less you sit in on the CAEB, is that correct? CAEB?
Yep.
Chair, and you listen to what they're saying, and then we report to the Senate what's going on with them. And is it vice versa? We report to CAEB what's going on in the Senate, or is it just report to Senate what's going on in the CAEB?
Vice versa. It's the same exact thing. It's going back and forth. When you go to have Senate meetings, you'll let Senate know what CAEB's doing, and when we have a CAEB meeting, you'll let CAEB know what Senate's doing. And then you also have a voting right to vote if something comes up and we need a vote. You would have a say in it.
And are the meetings fairly concise, like with Senate, or are they? I guess what I mean by that is, are they around the same time, just on a different day as Senate?
Correct. They're on Tuesdays at 10:30, and all the information is on that Google Classroom slide for the bylaws. So Brett can, if you have that Google Classroom slide, you can click on the bylaws for CAEB, and then you can scroll down till you see where it says, Student Senate Rep. If I'm not mistaken, that's the title of it. But I can definitely send out more information if anybody is interested. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it, is just reporting back and forth to both boards, reporting to CAEB what Senate's doing, reporting to Senate what CAEB's doing, and that's about it.
Unfortunately, I think I will have to decline. My schedule, I have classes on Tuesday and Thursday, so.
That's absolutely fine.
But thank you
Anybody
for
else
the information, sir.
Sure, no problem. Does anybody else have a question or I can answer?
I think we should create like a vacancy list of all these positions and post them on Instagram and on the school website.
Okay.
That's a very good idea. Thank you for that.
The only thing with that is the individual that gets appointed to CAEB rep has to be on Student Senate. So it would have to be either Stacey or another member of Student Senate. But that is a good idea. That is a really good idea.
How many do we still have empty Senate seats? Or no? I thought we had a couple empty Senate seats still, but do we or no?
I'm sorry, breaking up there a little bit in audio. It sounds like you were asking how many vacancies we have. Okay, sorry, I want to make sure.
Yes, sorry, my audio
Um,
does.
No, it's perfectly all right. So the vacancies that we still have are Director of Communications, which is responsible for taking the minutes. Usually we wait a little bit and have a couple meetings. Usually it's done in like the third week so that board members have an opportunity to see Brett take the minutes and then have those minutes posted. And after having sat in on those meetings, understanding, you know, what that kind of entails so that they have a sense of what they're committing to. And then the other vacancy we have, ooh, that might be it. Director of Communications. Director of, Director of Activities is specifically for CAEB now. So unless I'm mistaken, I believe our only vacancy at this time is Director of Communications, which is again primarily responsible for, that's true, we do have Senate Whip available. I was not aware that we had a Director of Activities, but that's probably because we didn't have one appointed on the board that I sat last year. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Director of Activities, Director of Communications, and Senate Whip.
Chair,
Recognized.
is it legislative analyst or legislative affairs, or is that the same thing?
Legislative Affairs, to my knowledge.
It is analyst.
Oh, my
Okay.
mistake. Okay, we've been calling it all of last year. We called it Legislative Affairs. Okay.
Okay.
My mistake.
Chair, sorry,
Recognized.
I forgot. So yeah, there's Director of Legislative Affairs and then there's Legislative Analyst. And
Oh,
then
I see.
those two really need to work hand in hand. Because the DOLA is doing your Region 2, your State Student Senate, your California Legislator Policy Research, while Legislative
Absolutely.
Analyst sometimes is more focused on shared governance committees, sometimes SAC meetings, or but they have to work hand in hand, right? And so, yeah, just to clarify.
I wanted to ask, since we didn't have a legislative analyst on last year's board, is that a member of the executive directors, or is that open to anyone on the board at all, even if they're already serving in a director position?
It's its separate position,
Okay,
but it's not an executive member. It's like a senator, but not called senator.
I see. I see. Thank you for that clarification. Is that a voting rights position enfranchised? Sorry, Brett, I know you're doing a lot of things at once. So many questions.
I think
sorry.
it is.
Is that an enfranchised position, legislative analyst? They have voting rights.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so we will get that information together. I know it's kind of coming through in the chat in a bit of a disorganized fashion, but I appreciate everyone that's answering and having this communication. We'll try to get that condensed all into one message and get that out, all of you, hopefully by the end of the day, because that's important for you to know that. All right. Are there any other questions about appointments or vacancies at this time?
Yeah, I have a question. Are any of these positions
Recognized.
stipend? Thank you. Are any of these positions stipend?
No, generally the positions are not. There are a few committees that are, and in general, if you receive an appointment to a stipend position, it will be the only stipend position you receive, because I've been encouraged to distribute those stipend positions among members of the board equally.
Chair, can I
Any
add
other-
one thing?
Yeah, please.
The stipend ones, so it gets a little tricky. As far as I know, ARC is the only school in the district that has stipend positions. That might have changed in the last few months. That is paid for by the school, not your all's money. That would create a conflict of interest if you were issuing stipends to yourselves. So that process does, as Mark can tell you, is lengthy to get compensated. So if you get appointed to that position down the road here, just be patient. There's a whole history of that, and I won't share it now, but just know that that is been a problem. And we don't know how many seats there are available yet. The chairs of those shared governance committees have not got back to my contact person on 1 student, 2 students. So when we find that out, we will let everyone know.
Are there any other questions about appointments at this time? Sydney,
I
noticed you're
have one.
unmuted. Go ahead.
I know you were talking about some of the committees not having information yet, but I was wondering what we do have on the Public Relations Committee, or is that now on me to figure it out?
Fred, do you have any information on that? Because I have had none at all.
So there's some in the bylaws, kind of a brief, like 1 paragraph, like what the charter of the committee is.
Okay.
My advice to you would be, you chair that committee, you can do it as you see fit, as long as you follow kind of the charter of the committee, and that you're following all the procedures in terms of agendas and stuff. But other than that, it's really up to you and that committee.
Okay. And which one of the little pictures would be bylaws on our resource guide?
Scroll, I think.
I've been looking around for it. I can't find it.
I think it's the scroll.
The what? The scroll?
Yeah, I believe so. Constitution and bylaws should be in there.
Let me see. Sorry.
I think so.
Just to remind the board, we are going to have a bit of a committee discussion under new business today. So if you don't get a chance to ask your question or clarify a point right now, we will be talking about it again in a bit.
Okay, I got it.
Computer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we've probably exhausted our time on this one. So I'm going to move on to unfinished business. Again, if you have more questions about committees, we will be talking about it again under new business. So moving on to unfinished business, there is no unfinished business. So moving on to new business, we're starting out with President Mark Shepard presenting on Google G Suites for consideration of use by the ASB Senate. So Mark, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Actually, Stacey, do you mind? I move a motion to postpone this until next week, if possible, due to some new information I found out about Google Suites.
All right, I hear a motion to move this to the next agenda. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion being made and seconded, we will now move on back to committee discussion. So here, Advisor Brett Sawyer will outline committees for ASB Senate service, and if there's any other information he wants to share with us or questions asked, we will do that at this time. Go ahead, Brett.
Need a motion.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so we need a motion to go into discussion. Is that correct? All right, so I'll entertain motions at this time.
I'll second that.
Oh, I'm sorry, VP. First, the motion has to be made before anyone can second. If you'd like to make the motion, go right ahead.
Motion Brett to talk about the positions that need to be open.
And seconded.
Thank you for that motion and second. So with that, Brett, go right ahead.
Sorry, I'm capturing the motion here. Let's see. So committees, I mean, I kind of really just shared everything already, so I don't really have too much more to share. I think the big thing is when those shared governance committees, so there's Operations Council, Student Success Council, and why am I blanking on the other one? Institutional Effectiveness Council. When those chairs reach out to, her name's Mary, she's my contact person to say, okay, Dominique's going to do this one, Brianna's going to do this one, right? Here's their contact info so that they can get compensated, all that stuff. They have not been told how many positions are going to be available on each board yet, or each council. So that's kind of what's holding us up on that. Normally, we would already know that. Normally, you all could have already been appointed to that, but ARC is wild right now. There's just a lot going on. People's roles have changed. People have moved jobs and new people have came in. So a little behind on that. The big thing for those committees, whether it's a shared governance committee or one that's in your constitution and bylaws, is the attendance and the participation. The attendance for those councils that are paid is vital. There are requirements to get paid. Some of them are equitable, some I would argue aren't, but really the attendance is the key. And if you don't attend 50% of the meetings, then you don't receive any compensation. So in the future, when you all that are wanting to be appointed to those councils, the big thing is the commitment to actually be there. Because A, this board needs to know, right, what's going on in those councils. And B, if you want to get paid for them, you have to be there. We had an instance a few years ago where a student, and this is when we were on ground, couldn't make some of the meetings because of childcare, but they did the work that they were asked to do. And the chair said, this person did the work, they just couldn't physically be here. And they went by the language of the charter, which said you weren't here 50% of the time, so we're not going to pay you. So there was some equity issues there. That's what I was alluding to earlier, but just that's the big thing, is that you're active and that you're participating and then that you're present. Because this board needs to hear what's going on with Operations Council, especially now with reopening, with vaccines, all that stuff that's going on right now. That's where that's going to be discussed. That's also where you all students have a say with staff and with faculty on input, right? Whether that's fair, not fair, offering perspectives, that's where you get to do it. So that's really all I have on committees. I posted earlier in the chat the schedule. That's from the last year we were on ground. That's a 2019-20 schedule. They tried to stay with that last year, but some committees were like, I can't meet at 3 today, let's make it 4. It was just between members. And so I don't know how accurate those are yet. So I don't want someone to get appointed and then they have class, right? So I'm working on getting the final schedule for those shared governance councils. The last thing I'll say is that IGOR site, there's too many acronyms. I forget. Stacey, you mentioned it earlier. I can't remember the name of it. Governance, something rather.
Something online repository.
There you go. That has all the councils, all the agendas, all the minutes. That's a good resource for those of you that are interested in getting appointed or are appointed at some point. That's where all your resources are going to be. So I would encourage those to kind of go through that site, especially if you love reading agendas and minutes and charters. That's going to be your jam. So with that, I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I did have one question. Are we allowed to create a committee?
Yes, so we have the authority to form ad hoc committees, is that correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, so an ad hoc committee is for, and this should be in the Constitution, it may be in the bylaws, but I'm pretty sure it's in the Constitution. An ad hoc committee is different from a standing committee in that it's kind of a short term, maybe based on a project. So as an example, last year we created an ad hoc committee for basic needs to try to address how to create an event to get some of the advocacy money out to students. We ran into all kinds of administrative problems with trying to do that because it's really complicated with gifting public funds and it makes it hard to spend that money at times, which we've discussed at training. So that's an example of an ad hoc committee.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions at this time about committees?
Stacey, sorry, I forgot
Go
one
ahead.
thing. If you're doing a standing committee through Senate, you still need to post agendas. So the 72 hours rule still applies. You have to follow Brown Act because that is a committee of this board that we're in right now. So especially if you're new and you've never written an agenda, we can work with you on that. Stacey and Mark have written plenty. Well, Stacey's now got one under their belt, but Mark's written many. So if that's something that you want to do, just remember that you have to have the agenda and we have to post them. So friendly reminder about that. So we can go over that once a committee knows they want to meet.
Thank you for that, Brett. An important clarification about the Brown Act. All right, there are no other questions. We will move on to the next item on our agenda. Give you one last chance. All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to the agenda item request form. President Mark Shepard will review the agenda item request form, which I think we briefly discussed at our training event. So I believe we need a motion for this as well.
I move to discuss the agenda item request form.
Thank you, Mark. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. So with the motion being made and seconded, take it away, Mark.
Awesome. So an agenda item request form, I'm going to be posting it in the chat. I do need to make a clerical change on it. I forgot that I got to take the previous president's email and name off. This this form, Google Doc, needs to be filled out. If you would like anything on the agenda, I'm posting it in the chat right now. Boom. Make sure you guys copy that link. That link, when you click on it, will show how to fill out the agenda item request form. Like I said, I will make some clerical changes on it today, and that's how you use to communicate with the president. For CAEB and Student Senate, if you would like to have something put on the agenda, it used to be in written form on paper, but since we are remote, a lot of things have went to digital. So that will be the form that you use if you would like to discuss something at a future meeting, or have some taken action, or just basically informational. You like to give some information out on something that's going on. Is there any questions about the agenda item request form?
Chair?
Go ahead.
So with the agenda item request form, we can request however many items we want for the agenda, or is it one per person? Just to clarify.
I can go
Chair,
ahead and
can you
answer that. Go ahead, Mark. Go right ahead.
Okay, so it is one per an item, but you can request as many as you like, but just make sure that you only do one topic, or one discussion item that you would like to discuss, have action taken on, or information. Each one of them, if you notice on the agenda, it'd be like 10.1, 10.2. Everything is separated, so basically it's just one discussion item, information, or something action that needs to be taken. But to
Did that
answer your
answer your
question, you can post multiple agenda item requests for.
I think that answers my question wonderfully. Thank you.
All right, and I just wanted to add to that. It was a great answer, Mark. If you do happen to submit several form submissions for multiple item agendas, for one thing, good on you for being really on it and bringing a lot of issues before the Senate. But do keep in mind that that might have an effect of some of those items being moved to the next agenda if we have a lot of business to get through. So in the interest of being timely. So. And again, it's always fine to remind me that, hey, you're not forgetting about that submission form I put in. So, yeah. All right. Any other questions about the agenda item request form?
Chair.
Recognized.
So I will also send it to you and make sure that we send it out to everybody that's on the board. So that way, if you do not have an opportunity to copy it right now in the chat, that you will have it in your email. So you can just search your email drive agenda item request, and it should pull up that email specifically just for that link. If I'm not mistaken, Brett, it's added to Google Slide. If not, then we could possibly get that added to the Google Classroom. So that way it'd be an easy location.
Great idea, Mark. Thank you. I just took a note of that. Any other questions? Seeing and hearing none, we will move on to our last item under new business, which is ASB. Oh my goodness, I'm just realizing that I skipped over parliamentary procedure. Okay, so we're gonna roll it back to 10.3. Parliamentary procedure, ASB advisor Brett Sawyer will deliver final material from ASB Senate orientation. Do I hear a motion at this time? Sorry about that, folks.
I motion.
Thank you, Sydney. If you could say I move to discuss and then describe the item, please.
I move to discuss 10.3 parliamentary procedure.
Thank you. With the motion being made, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. So with the motion being made and seconded, go ahead, Brett.
All right, thank you. So can I share my screen? It might make it a little easier.
You should be able to. Let me know if I need to enable something.
All right, let's see. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, let's see.
If not, it's fine. For the interest of time, we don't need to sit and wait on it.
All right, it should be updated. Go ahead and try again.
Let's try. There we go. All right. So I'm going to, oh gosh, where'd it go? Technology. Sorry, y'all. Let me get it back up. I'm going to show you a previous bill. I think it's just easier to show that way than, here we go. One thing we did not cover in our training, and we're going to have a guest hopefully next week show you kind of how to write a bill and a resolution. But this was a bill from last year. So I think you all kind of get the idea now of how you make a motion, right? It's on the agenda, right? President Stacey reads it, and then they have to sit uncomfortably till someone makes a motion. Once that motion has been made and then it's seconded, then it typically goes back to the person that made the motion, unless it's like a guest speaker. Like for me right now, I'm a guest. So Sydney doesn't then start going into parliamentary procedure unless they wanted to, because they did make the motion. But once you're discussing a bill, right? So Mark wrote this last year and Stacey co-sponsored it. They have typically would put it on the agenda, do the agenda item request that Mark just shared. They usually make the motion, right? So that when the floor is theirs, they can discuss the bill. One of the things, so especially, and Brianna as the new director of finance, you'll want to, as you see the agenda, you'll want to see what's being discussed, especially when it involves money. And I will work with you on that, don't worry. But whatever is on the agenda item request has to match the bill. So if on the agenda item request, Stacey sees it and it's $500, but this bill says $300, sometimes it's grammatical, it's typo or whatever. But if it's like an absurd difference, like $5,000 on the bill, but the agenda only said $300, you have to go by what is on the agenda. Because the public is going to look at that agenda and say, $5,000, oh, I need to show up. What is this all about? But if it's $300, then I go, whatever. But if it says 300 and then all of a sudden you're voting on something that's worth 5,000, that's kind of shady, right? So try your best when you're proposing something to make sure the amounts are the same on the agenda and the bill. Now say someone goes over this bill. I'm going to use Mark because his name's on it. Mark's talking about this bill for an advisors conference last year. It's $300. Let's say, I don't know, Molly, I see your screen. Let's say Molly moves to, instead of $300, make it $1,000 because they know other people on campus that want to attend this conference. Can they do that? Pop quiz. Okay. The answer is no, they can't do that. You can't make a bill higher because you can't go above whatever on the agenda, but you can go lower. So Molly can make a motion to strike $300 and make it $100, and it could be seconded. And then Molly has the floor to discuss why it should be $100 and not $300, right? And you could debate about it. Stacey is running the meeting. They call on folks on both sides that want to discuss that. Then you vote on that motion of, is it going to be $100 or not? Okay, so think of parliamentary procedure, and I mentioned this at the training, like PEMDAS from math class. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You have to discuss the motion that's on the table. So the original motion, and I know this gets confusing, the original motion was the bill that Mark introduced. He discussed it, right, and why it's important and yada, yada, yada. Molly says, wait a second, $300, that only costs $100. I move to strike $300 from this bill and make it 100. Say Colton seconds that. Then you're discussing the $100 option of this bill. Then you're going to vote on that. Should we make it 100 or should we make it 300? Or excuse me, should we make it 100? Yes or no? Right? You all vote. We would call on folks yes or no. Then it goes, let's say it doesn't pass. Let's say it was a vote of 8-2. Motion does not pass. So it's still at $300. Then you have to go back to the motion that Mark made of the bill itself. So someone then could say, I don't know, this bill's pretty generic, like it wouldn't really be, but sometimes your bills can be a little more complex where it's like $500 for this, $500 for point B, $500 for point C. Someone could go in and strike every single amount, and you have to keep entertaining the motion at hand. Finally, hopefully, you're going to get to the point of whatever the bill is, you can amend it, right, through those motions, and then you're going to actually vote on the bill. So it can get a little tricky. I would advise you all for now to try to keep it simple, but obviously I'm not going to stop you from changing an amount or changing wording on a bill or resolution. That's why you all are here. But just know you have to follow those procedures. So I know I kind of threw a lot at you there. Are there any questions on that piece?
Chair?
Sorry, muted, recognized.
So when it comes to debate and the like over topics on a bill, like let's say it's cut up into 3 sections of $100 each for this bill, just in theory. And I look at one of them and I say, there's no way it costs that much. Can I use like examples from me, or can I use examples from, I don't know, how much it would cost in transit to get there, how much it would cost to get, I don't know, somebody to drive us there, things like that. Like, what can I use as a reasoning? Or can I only, like, I'm just curious, what can I use as reasoning for both ends?
Yeah, good question. So in the past, especially since this one was virtual, right? It's just like the invoice. Like I would probably provide the invoice and say, look, it's $300. I'm not pocketing 100 and buying some new Jordans. It's just $300, right? Travel gets a little more confusing because you have to estimate flight costs or train or bus or whatever, hotels. The bill should have that. So hopefully in spring, pandemic willing, if there was a conference that you all wanted to attend, it would have all those breakdown. So someone that introduces that bill should have done their homework, and I would work with them on that to get those costs. But Colton might look at it and be like, Southwest don't cost $1,000 per person to fly, right? And then you could kind of discuss that. Yeah, you could. Luckily, you all are in a position where budget's not really going to be an issue for you all, but some boards have tight budgets. So spending all your money flying to San Diego for a conference, someone might say, why do we have to spend all our money on a flight? Why can't we take the bus, right? And they could vote on that. And then that way, anyone that wants to go knows they got to take the bus. Luckily, you all are in a position where that's not really an issue, but there are other colleges in this district where that would be a large chunk of their budget. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. It answered it very well. And I have a follow-up question. Do I need to ask the chair or chair?
Go ahead.
For my follow-up question, we're more concerned with getting things done rather than worrying about a ton of details. Like for instance, with the example of $1,000 per person. Well, let's say we debate that a bit and we go forward with saying, well, yeah, we're going to end up doing this. And I say, well, no, it doesn't cost 1,000 per person. It costs 900 per person or 950. Is that something I should even worry about? Or should it be like, well, that's just padding for it in case anything did go wrong?
Yeah.
Like, should I even bother with splitting hairs on those sorts of things, or should anyone bother with it, or should we be more concerned with getting something done?
Yeah, good. Another good question. I would say when it's that amount to not worry about it, because here's the other thing, and this happened more on ground. The school newspaper would see that you're passing, I don't know, there was a conference a few years ago with 16 people that cost about $11,000. And the school newspaper said something to the extent of Student Senate spends $11,000 on itself. But what they didn't do, and this is no knock on the school newspaper, is that's how much the bill was allotted for. That's not how much they spent, because 16 people didn't end up going. It was only like 8 that went. So the bill was like half the cost, but you always want to give yourself wiggle room. I always say shoot for the moon, right? If you're doing estimates, so things might go over, especially with flights and hotels and stuff, prices can fluctuate. But always aim higher, because you can strike down the cost, but you can't go up. So like for this one, if the conference said, you know what, that invoice said 300, but we have some things, now it's 400. I can't just pay the invoice from your accounts saying, okay, 400. I have to come back to you all and say, look, y'all, you got to pass another bill for $100. So to answer your question, don't get caught up on $100 here, $50 there. It tends to be when it's a much larger gap that's when you want to have those conversations. All right. Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So when it comes to debate over values for, I guess, money, when it's involving money for these, I guess, items, it would only be fairly appropriate to debate or bring into question how much is being spent on it when it's something in excess. Like to drive downtown, it would cost, I don't know, $5,000 for us to get buses.
Right.
It's like, well, now wait a minute. I don't think it costs $5,000 to go downtown.
Right. Yep.
But,
exactly.
right.
So I know we're running out of a lot of time, and I want to give you all time for board member reports. So the last thing I'll say, and I can continue to go over this at another time, or if you all want to meet privately, this picture right here on the Google slide. Can you all see the Google slide?
Sorry, yes.
Okay, thanks. This picture right here, you click on that, that is your entire folder on parliamentary procedure. It's got everything from the Robert's Rules of Order, Parley Pro, other resources. I know I went over some of this at the orientation, but this is really your resources, plus anything you can find online. There are plenty of other parliamentary things I have not gone over with you all. There's a whole laundry list of stuff you can do, but I wanted to keep it simple for now, just to get you started. We can have those much more complex conversations down the road, but I encourage you all to check that out, to familiarize yourself with some of these things. And especially if you're going to chair a committee down the road, you need to see it from the other lens of how you chair a committee, right? You've listened to Stacey now, kind of with the agenda and recognizing folks and that kind of thing. So that's the other part, but I will stop there for now. So if there's no other questions, I'll turn it back over to Stacey.
Any other questions? All right. Hearing and seeing none. We'll move on to 10.5 ASB office schedule discussion. This is an opportunity for board members to discuss the schedule for accessing the ASB office on a rotating basis, which was mentioned a little earlier in the meeting in terms of there could be limited access. That building is really closed right now. I know Sydney had reached out about potentially wanting to work in the office on Friday mornings. Are there any other board members who are interested in serving office hours or otherwise utilizing the Senate office during the semester? And this can change later, but that you're aware of at this time.
Sure. Hi, yes. I will be holding
Recognize.
office hours on Fridays, probably.
Okay,
Probably like 12 to 1
Okay.
on Zoom.
so online on Zoom, but from the ASB Senate office, or did I, sorry, cut out a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I still have to figure that out, but that was my plan. Just definitely on Fridays in the afternoon.
Sounds good. All right, and Sydney, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you had mentioned wanting to hold office hours in person from 9 to 12. Was that right?
9 to 10. So
9 to
that
10. Oh, I'm sorry.
if anyone wanted to bring up anything to me right before a meeting, or I could show them how to submit something for another meeting, just like that, a little window of convenience right there. And then by being in the office and like having that space, I could also just immediately hop onto our group Senate meeting.
Sounds good. Any other interest in in-person office hours at this time? All right, hearing and seeing none. We'll move on to committee reports. I don't believe any committees met this week. Brett, do you know of any committees that have already met? I can't think of any. Okay. All right. So with that, we will move on to board member reports and announcements. So this time is for board members to inform the board about relevant campus-wide events, report any progress, any activities. A limit of 3 minutes per report shall be observed. Are there any members of the board who would like to share a report at this time? This could be anything. Club officers, student design team.
Next time I'm getting the Philly cheesesteak, I'll let you know how it is.
I'm sorry. If you'd like to speak during public comment, that is more than welcome. Unfortunately, this time is reserved for board member reports, but thank you, Stephen.
I'm sorry, I totally didn't mean to unmute myself. I was talking to somebody else. I
No worries.
apologize.
No worries. Technological world. All right.
Hi,
So
Stacey, Chair.
recognized.
I would like a cheesesteak sandwich, and also I wanted to make an announcement that the next meeting I will be holding a motion to create an ad hoc committee for an environmental impact and sustainability committee. So I just want to let everyone know if anyone's interested in trying to help me with that. Please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you for that, VP. That's an excellent idea. And the cheesesteak sandwich does sound pretty good. Getting close to noon. All right. Any other board members, club officers, student design team want to talk about Welcome Week? Anyone make it to campus this week or just want to talk about their first week back to school?
Sure.
Recognized.
Hi, everyone. Silvia and I are working to reactivate American River College's Phi Theta Kappa chapter, which is an honor society for two-year colleges. And we're currently in the works of getting everything set up, and Professor Coleman is our new advisor for this year. And so coming up within the next month, the invites will be sent out, and that'll have more information. But we're also just looking for members right now to write out our membership list for the club application. So if you're interested in learning more about the Honor Society, I'm going to leave my email in the chat. And so, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, Brianna. Any other board reports?
Chair,
Recognized.
I don't have a board report, but I love to hear that they are reactivating the Honor Society. I'm taking Honors English this semester, and the group is so fabulous. Just the first week was such a great experience. So thank you for moving forward with that.
Thank you, Molly. All right. Any other board member reports?
Sure.
Recognized.
So for board member reports, it's interest and what's been happening on campus that you've been participating in and the like.
Absolutely. Although I've been told if you just want to talk about you got an A on your exam, you can share that too. It's really up to you.
And Chair?
Yes.
So I do have an interest in possibly getting food services in on campus, and I would be very much interested in messaging you and Brett more about it in the days to come.
Absolutely. That would be more than welcome. Hopefully we can get that on an agenda either next week or the following week. As Brett mentioned earlier in our meeting, it sounds like administration is interested in that as well. So hopefully we can loop all of us in together and get that going. Thank you.
And Chair?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Colton. Go ahead.
Just to wrap it up, so I will send you an email, send you both an email, and we'll discuss it via email or private Zoom. Like, how do we go about it? If you don't mind me asking.
Email should be good unless you have another preference, Brett. All right, email it is. All right, Sydney, go ahead.
I don't have anything to report, but I was like, I can talk about how cool the student store is. I've gone twice in the last week. They have a sale. I got this hoodie, pretty fresh. Oh, what the heck? Okay, pretty good. Where's my lanyard? I got a lanyard to match. Yeah, if you want a hoodie or anything like that, they got some good deals in there. They have a bunch of school supplies. I don't have it, but I have a teddy bear that had like ARC sweatshirt on it. My only beef is that they don't have stickers. I would love a sticker, but that is all I have for my board member report.
Thank you for that report, Sydney. As director of PR, you're on it about the stickers. Everyone's got those water bottles these days, and vinyl stickers are where it's at.
Exactly.
All right, any other board member reports? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to our second section of public comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address the ASB Senate on issues not already appearing on the agenda. A limit of 2 minutes per speaker shall be observed with a maximum of 4 minutes per topic. No discussion is allotted on public comment. The law does not permit any action to be taken or extended discussion of any items not on the agenda. The ASB Senate may briefly respond to statements made for questions posed. However, for further information, please contact the ASB Senate President for the item of discussion to be placed on a future agenda. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment at this time?
Chair?
Stephen, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I actually wasn't planning on making public comment, but because I so rudely interrupted, I'm going to make my public comment. One, to apologize. So I apologize to everybody for unmuting my microphone. I did not know when I put my phone down that I had hit the microphone button. So I really apologize for that. But my name is Stephen Kodur. Last year, I was the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, or SSCCC. I was their president. This year, I have come on as staff. I'm the community organizer. You might have received some emails. I know I've been in contact with Brett, Stacey, also. But yeah, what I'm doing is really going to colleges. You might see me on campus later on this year, COVID permitting, but just trying to get more students involved with your campus, with our organization. We're really here to provide more resources this year. With AB 1504 coming in, we have a lot more funds. So what we did is we hired staff to make sure that student body associations throughout the state are just getting the resources they need. So we're providing training. We'll be setting up some sort of like a geek squad, for student body associations within the next couple months, where you can come to us and just say, hey, we're having a problem with this, or hey, can you help us out with this? Any training and resources, we can come in and do that for you. But just wanted to make myself known, and I can drop my email in the chat if you're looking at getting plugged into the region or with the board of directors. Love to get you involved. But yeah, as I said earlier, apologize for interrupting the meeting, but thank you so much for having me. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for your service to the SSCCC, both as an executive board member and as a staff organizer. Angela, go ahead.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Angie and I'm on the student design team. I was just here today because I wanted to observe. I was interested in Student Senate. So I just wanted to say hi. I've met a few of you already, but just wanted to introduce myself.
Thank you so much for being here today, Angie. Are there any other members of the public who would like to make a comment at this time? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to adjournment. As a matter of consent, if there are no objections, this meeting will be adjourned at 11:49 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Seeing and hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.